All right, and we're live. All right, WrestleMania XL post show. My buddy Philip, as I hope you can read his name. So what did you think?
Overall, I was pretty happy with it. Night one was, but I mean, I'm on the same boat as everyone else. Night two was chef's kiss, as close to perfection as you could get, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people say, night one was garbage. It was basically a house show, which I don't agree with. It was standing by itself. It was a good pay-per-view, but night two was what WrestleMania should be. So
Yeah, night one, I feel it's better than some of the more recent pay per views or PLEs, however you want to. I'm from the age when it was a pay per view, not a PLE. So I'm just
yeah,
gonna call it pay per views.
yeah, I
But
mean,
I feel night two was better than some of the more recent pay per views we've gotten. So on its own, I think night one, you can make an argument it was better than Elimination Chamber, almost better than the Rumble, and potentially better than was some of the smaller like Fastlane pay per views we've had.
yeah, and WrestleMania definitely should be the best pay-per-view of the year, hands down.
Right.
But the other ones were just like I'm glad I didn't have to pay for them.
Same.
But then at the same time, I look back at some of the pay-per-views from growing up as a kid, even 30 years ago. To be honest, some of them were bad.
Yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
definitely come a long way.
And I'm kind of glad you brought that up because me and a buddy we've talked about hot take here that wrestling wise, the Attitude Era really it wasn't as good as people remember. The promos and some of the wrestlers were great, but the actual wrestling, I feel we're in a better age now than we were 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people, myself included, growing up with the Attitude Era and the new generation era growing into the Attitude Era. Look at it with rose tinted glasses,
Yeah.
like you had a pure, you know, love of when we grow up. But yeah, I mean, even WrestleManias, you could look at them like two or three good, great matches, and then the rest were kind of filler, you
Yeah.
know.
Make an argument they should have been Raw or SmackDown matches at the time.
Yeah. And now it's like the high profile matches we were getting then on pay per views were, the matches we do get on Raw and SmackDown is that level. So it definitely helped usher in where we're at now, without a doubt.
Right. Because
But
I love the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression Era as much as the next person, but I just feel that we're in a way better era of wrestling currently.
now this kind of leads into a question I just popped into my head. How much, I'd say within the last 10 to 15 years, was hindered by Vince? And moving forward, how much do you think is going to get freed up because he's gone? Gone.
I'm going to say probably conservatively, maybe 80 to 85% of it was hindered by Vince. To be honest, I mean, just take WrestleMania or even the Rumble. Would you have a TNA champion carry the belt out on a WWE pay-per-view and showing the belt? Would that happen under Vince?
Absolutely not.
And on top of that, would the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho and what was it? Was it Osprey or Omega that they showed pictures of during Cody's video package?
I don't remember exactly who was in the package. But I know I remember seeing Goldust and the Bullet Club at Mania.
Yeah.
Would they have even have been allowed in the building? You
Yeah.
know, I mean, let alone buy tickets.
Right. And with that being said, just I know you and I've talked about it before. Look at the quality of the women's division and within the last 2 years compared to what it was under Vince.
No, the women are kicking ass,
Yes.
and well, I'm sure you feel the same way. But I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Trish, Lita. I'll always have a soft spot in my heart for them. But the women now, just on athletic ability, are freaking killing it.
Right. I mean, from what was it? The New Day agrees with us as well there.
It's a new day.
Yeah. And I just look at just obviously, look at Reed, look at the four horse, look like I still stand on this soapbox that the Rhea and Charlotte match of WrestleMania 39 should have been the main event of night one.
Oh, they stole the show.
Yes.
Or at least part of the show.
Yes. I get the Usos and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, the bloodline having the main event, but you can't commit otherwise that the Rhea and Charlotte was not the main event of that night.
Yeah, they if the spotlight wasn't already on them, they after that match, it's like they demanded the spotlight on them.
Yes.
You know, they and even it seems like every match any of them have, it just keeps getting better and better and better. And irrespectfully, even the worst women now, you could say they're not quite there yet. Like Zelina, she's great, but she still has her little flips. She's
Right.
better than what we had 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
You know, so they're all stepping up the game, and you know, it seems now everything's kind of catching up with each other, and she's going to make everything better.
Yeah. I mean, Triple H is, as of yet, Triple H has my full confidence, and especially getting a rub from Paul Heyman saying I'm a Paul Levesque guy. That says something. The fact that the direction we're going in with WWE right now.
Yeah, because Triple H, Paul, he's a wrestler first and foremost. He's a performer.
Right.
It's like if you go back and hear like Bischoff and the interviews with Dusty Rhodes or Ric Flair about WCW in the 90s, that we wanted a wrestling guy in there, and now we're seeing what a wrestling guy brings to the table. And WrestleMania was prime example of Triple H, the wrestler, and then the executive, what he's bringing to the table. You just got to give him the trust. You got to and he delivered.
Absolutely. And back to the original question, I think that Vince has been the problem for years now, and I think this is anybody who's had any question about that. I think this past weekend's WrestleMania weekend from SmackDown to Raw has proved that we don't need Vince.
Yeah. He's what, like 80 years old now, something like that, or pushing 80.
Late 70s, early 80s, and
even without the allegations or whatever is going on with him, he probably should have stepped back years ago anyway.
Yes.
Um, and let Steph, Triple H, Shane, kind of take over, and we would have been where we are now 5 years ago.
And how many superstars or talent would WWE still have on the roster if that would have happened? How many people wouldn't have made the jump to AEW or TNA now or New Japan or Ring or what have you? How many superstars would they still have on the roster, and what would the main event roster look like today? Would Roman Reigns have had the 1,300-day champion reign if Triple H would have taken over 4 or 5 years ago?
Yeah. Excuse me. Would Cody have even left, and would AEW still exist? Right. Um, would I don't think Roman would have still had the title at some point, but pushing 1,400 days, I don't think it would last that long. But at the same time, I try to think how much of his title reign was because of COVID.
Right.
You know what I mean? Was he such, with all due respect to him, how much of his lengthy title reign was due to them scaling back and having restrictions in place? So they needed somebody there. They couldn't just keep rotating through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, uh, you know, and at the same time, friggin' letting Cody go or Cody leaving was the best thing for him.
Yes.
Um, even that year or two that Bray was away, may he rest in peace, may have been best for him.
Right.
Because when he did come back, he was right back, if not as popular as he was before. Unfortunately, it was cut short. And after watching the documentary, I even thought, was he going to be built up to take down Roman? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
So
how documentary, without directly saying it, was without them directly saying it, how many times did they kind of hint at or refer to that Vince was the reason why Bray didn't get pushed or be a bigger star than he was?
yeah, I mean, he very well could have been the next Undertaker. You know what I
Right.
mean? And Taker didn't need the world title every year, every Mania to be the Undertaker,
No.
but Bray could have, at any point in the last 3 years, could have been the guy to take down Roman. You
Absolutely.
know, he could have been the guy to take down Gunther. He could have, how much more of, him and what was it, Uncle Howdy?
Yeah.
Him and Bo taking down Judgment Day for the tag titles. You know what I mean? It's like now that thankfully with Triple H, they were able to build things back up again. But, it's like, how many opportunities could you have plugged him in and said, okay, he would have been the guy here, he would have been the guy there, so on and so forth.
Right.
But, you know, yeah,
Absolutely.
Vince being Vince, I guess.
Yeah. And that kind of, and I'm kind of glad you brought up about Gunther, because nothing against Sammy. Is just, I don't feel Sammy taking getting the title from Gunther was necessarily that was probably my weak point night one. Was nothing against Sammy. It's just, I feel that should have been more Chad Gable in that position than Sammy. Like, nothing against, like I said, nothing against Sammy. It's just, I don't really find him, I guess, interesting enough. To me, his best work was when he was in the Bloodline, or when he was paired with Kevin Owens.
Yeah. And I definitely, if with the interaction with him and Gable after he won, or before he was going out there when he said "you owe me," that was kind of the hint that yeah, Gable's going to get it.
Yeah.
Um, but when I saw Sammy win, it was the kind of shocking upset that you would expect at WrestleMania. You know what I
Right.
mean? And after the last 2 years, Sammy I think deserves it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know, it was. I would have liked to see him a little bit more underdog, pulling it out with like a small package or something. But
Right.
at the end of the day, I was just shocked and I'm happy for him.
Yeah. I can see that, and like kind of like I said, it's just that was like just kind of one of my personal kind of like low spots, or kind of just not really a disappointment, but just kind of and like good for him, glad he won it, but to me they've kind of been like here recently been kind of like dropping the ball with Chad Gable, and just I feel that I don't know, I just kind of felt that Chad Gable is a little more not necessarily wouldn't say deserving of it, but just I think would have benefited, I guess, Chad Gable a little bit more. And like I said, that's just kind of I guess a kind of a personal critique. But other than that, I mean, night one, I've seen some of the criticizes about it, and I've seen some of the complaints, and overall, I was happy with it. The I know the Rhea Becky match was I thought that was a good match. I mean, Becky being sick, running 103-degree fever and going out there and doing work against Rhea, arguably the most dominant female in professional wrestling right now. I mean, hats off to her.
Yeah, I remember talking about it with a few people in the wrestling group in the chat. Somebody said like, oh, they're bringing up her being sick with 102 fever. That way they could use that as an excuse why she doesn't win. I even said, I was like, if she does win, they could say, oh, she pulled through with 102-degree fever. Look how badass she is. She could take down Rhea.
Yeah,
So, it's like if she's sick, I hope she's, feeling better,
right,
and sure she's a pro that she could fight through it. But at the same time, like, was her being sick part of the story or of the match? But
right. It in regards to Rhea, like I'm don't get me wrong. So kind of I'm like everyone else. I watched, wrestling, Attitude Era into the Ruthless Aggression Era. Then I kind of stopped watching, about mid high school, a little bit after high school, kind of stopped watching, kind of, I guess, outgrew it. Then kind of still followed it. The product was stale. Then really got back into it last year at WrestleMania 39. So Rhea and Cody both kind of hold a soft spot in my heart just because, watching those two matches at last year's WrestleMania, just it got me back into it. So those two will forever hold a soft spot in my heart. My only I guess issue with Rhea in a way is I feel that it would have been better for her to drop the title to Becky, just because if you look at it at face value, how believable is it a Liv Morgan, a Selena Vega, a Chelsea Green, or a Tiffy Stratton beating? I mean, outside of Charlotte, Bianca, Becky, once they work her up, Jade. How many women is there in the roster right now that is a believable contender against Rhea Ripley?
Um, you know what? Like you said, Charlotte, uh, Becky, Bailey. You know, if they decide to go that route now, um, Bianca, hell, Jade when she's ready, because she's a friggin'
She's a beast.
she's a beast. Selena, I would say definitely not right now. Chelsea Green, I would say definitely not. Uh, Tiffany Stratton, give her another year, and I would say yes, just
Right.
because she's so athletic that I could see her just bouncing all around the ring, friggin'.
Now her elimination chamber match, that was she she blew, I guess, everyone's expectations. Wait,
Yeah, and that's what I'm basing it on. Like if she goes out there and can prove that, you know, religiously, you know, on a fairly consistent basis, then I think, she'll be right up there.
right. It's just that's my only that's I guess my only complaint or issue with Rhea is like the way she's so physically dominant and just the way that not necessarily the way they book her, but just how she is. It's just there's some like I guess some of the female talent is just I find it hard to believe because like unfortunately I feel like the way they're going to go with the storyline is they're probably going to have Liv, excuse me, take the title from Rhea and just face value. I find it a little hard. I just find it hard to buy. Nothing against Liv. Like she's a great performer. It's just you look at physicality. I don't. I could buy Liv defeating Becky a little easier than Liv defeating Rhea.
The only thing I will say is keep in mind Money in the Bank's right around the corner.
Right.
And just like with Damian night one, which, I have written down, we'll get to it, you know, at any, was it June or July? If any of them win Money in the Bank and then shockingly out of nowhere they cash in on Rhea and win, short of the three top people that we mentioned earlier, it would take something like that for Liv to pull one out, so to speak. You know what I mean?
Right.
Against Rhea.
Right. And I kind of actually glad you kind of mentioned Money in the Bank because I actually kind of not necessarily forgot about Money in the Bank coming up, but I didn't really look at that as as a possibility or kind of as a direction. But now that you say that, I mean, I could see them going Money in the Bank route.
Yeah, like they did with Io last year. You know.
Yeah.
I talked about Becky. Yeah. What did you think of the 6-pack ladder match?
The the 6-pack ladder match. R-Truth made that. Anything R-Truth is in is gold, in my opinion.
Oh, he's a national treasure.
He is. I'm glad R-Truth finally got his WrestleMania moment.
Me too.
That was R-Truth made that. R-Truth made that match. Coming from the hot tag, the pinning, and obviously John Cena's 5 moves of doom. Anytime R-Truth is on the screen, it's a good time for me. Outside of that, honestly, I'm kind of glad to see Austin Theory and Grayson Waller getting the tag titles as well. Grayson Waller's kind of grown on me recently, so good for them. Hopefully that also helps Austin Theory as well because like he has the look, he has the potential. I just think with him being one of Vince's guys, I think this could help him right now. And overall, the ladder match was entertaining. It was. I didn't really have a problem with that. It was a good, solid, fun match in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you on being so happy to see R-Truth get his WrestleMania moment, and it even looked like him, thanking Miz and at the end there, and with the Miz, it was like not that long ago, looked like they had nothing for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to do with? And I'm not a Miz fan, but it was to me, it's like it's unfortunate that they didn't have anything for him. And then next thing you know, him and R-Truth are winning the Raw tag titles,
Yeah.
which is awesome. With the A-Town Down Under, I'm the exact opposite with you with Grayson Waller. He is, and I guess it's a good thing, whether you get a positive pop or a negative pop, you're doing your job.
Yeah.
But he is like so annoying, and uh, what's his face, freaking Austin Theory. I remember saying to Katie, I was like, he has the look. He's in amazing friggin' shape.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, he seems so one dimensional to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he didn't have the look, and I guess that's why they paired him with Grayson Waller, because Grayson Waller is just a bottle of friggin' annoyance. So
Yeah.
they kind of complement each other. But yeah, like you said, hopefully, I didn't even think of that them winning will help them out in the long run. They help them grow.
Yeah.
You know,
Because what kind of grew for me on Grayson Waller is just the obviously elimination chamber down in Perth and just seeing. I mean, between Rhea and Grayson, just seeing how hyped he was, and just how yes, like I agree, he can be annoying at times. The Grayson Waller effect, I'm I'm not really a huge fan of. That's usually a bathroom break or a snack break,
yeah,
but it's just his, like you said, whether it's positive or a negative reaction, he is getting a reaction out of the fans and out of the crowd. And at that point, you're doing your job, whether it's positive or negative. The fans are doing something, and with that, I mean, hopefully he can kind of instill or kind of teach some of that to Theory and help kind of get him to that. He's like, to me, he's like right there at that cusp of not necessarily a main event caliber, but he's right there at that cusp of like able to go high mid card if he just takes some of you know either tips from Grayson or whatever he needs to do. To me, he's right there. It's just he needs
yeah,
that something for him.
yeah. It's like your personality can't be, and a lot of people said this about Raquel, who I love. Like you can't just be all your body. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that might have worked in 1988, but now in 2024, we want to see a little bit of your personality, man. Like,
You need some
with it,
substance.
yeah. And but once he gets that, I think he'll definitely get over that hump of mid card status. You know, almost like the only reason he was U.S. champion is because nobody else was there. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, you know, definitely, give time another 6 months. You know, he'll get there.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Other match.
All right, match 3: Rey and Andrade versus Santos and Dom.
So I'm gonna admit something. That was I've heard of Andrade. That was the first time me personally watching him perform because I'm not really a I'm not really a huge AEW guy, but I'm aware he came from there, and I was aware that he originally started in WWE, went to AEW, then came back. And watching that, it I mean I was entertained watching them perform. Dom Dom is a Dom is a treasure. He is a future Hall of Famer, and I like Dom. Yeah, like that goes back to the no matter what reaction you get out of the crowd, the fact that he has that much heat and
Yeah.
just I love Dom. I mean,
And,
Ray being the deadbeat father he is, I mean, overall that match I was entertained. Um, what was it? Escobar and Santos was in there as well.
yeah.
To me, he was the other guy in the LWO that wasn't Ray or Carlito or Selena, and like I'm sure like I don't know, like I was entertained during that match, but to me, Dom and um, Andrade stole them. Like they put on a good show. Ray being the deadbeat dad he is was just there. I mean,
The real deadbeat is real dad Eddie not being there. Rest in peace. I'm sorry.
Jesus, I right. I mean, you would think that he would get that through his head by now, but it was another like solid, entertaining match.
Yeah, and Dom has how far has he come since last year even?
Oh,
He
like
is.
worlds better.
And I remember seeing him at a house show out here. He legit looked like he was having a good time. Like, and that alone made me like, okay, I don't hate him as much. You know
Sure.
what I mean? Like he's all. I mean, all of Judgment Day were having a good time, but even talking smack to the crowd, he had a smile on his face. So, I'm like, I'll give him props for coming as far as he's come in the last year and a half.
I mean, well, what do you expect from a 20-year veteran?
Yeah. he was in that ring since he was half Ray's size.
Right. It's watching Dom. He's great. He is. I mean, for everything that he has like had to deal with of having an absent father in his life. He's an inspiration. We should all strive to be half the person that Dominic Mysterio is right now.
Yeah, from having an absentee father to his stint in jail to coming out and, you know, having mommy by his side, you know.
I wish
And
I wish I could be him when I grow up. I mean, let's be
yeah, and I even wish I could grow a mullet as beautiful and majestic as Dominic Mysterio can.
he is the one of the few people that could pull that off and it works.
He's a man's man.
He is. What I am waiting for though is, I mean, with it being Rey Mysterio, he has a history of it. I'm waiting for a hair versus mask match.
You know, never thought of that. I could see them pulling out like a mask retirement match or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
because I mean, even Ray's been doing it for so long. He's kind of on slowly working his way out.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I could see that at some point. A mask match, a retirement style match.
Yeah. And like back to like on Dominic, like he's just I was kind of the same way as you of like at first it's like, oh, Rey Mysterio's kid. Then from WrestleMania 39 to this past weekend, what really kind of is, but it was recently too, what really kind of like, holy crap, he's gotten better was his match against Gunther. He held his own against Gunther. And that was one of those matches that just kind of like, this kid has came a very long way.
Yeah, and it's good to see. And it won't be that much longer till he's working his way up. You know, another 5 years or so, he'll be in the conversation at least for you know who's gonna who's gonna win Elimination Chamber, who's gonna cash in Money in the Bank. He'll be in that conversation as one of the guys to watch out for.
Right. And like that's one of those like I hope he's almost along the lines of how the Miz is always been booked as a heel. I know he's been booked as a babyface. That's it's not really had a very good run, but I think that Dom just needs to be kept booked as a heel because that fits him so well.
Yeah, and I could see at some point, like if it starts getting stale, if it starts getting stale, um, at some point he has they have the flip where either he's out for a while and comes back and helps somebody, or somebody betrays him, you know, and next thing you know, 3 weeks later he comes back and he's a baby face, you
Yeah,
know, kind of like with Austin, people got behind him so much that he kind of just naturally morphed into a baby face.
yeah,
So
because so over that. I mean, look at Austin. Went out there and sang the Beverly Hillbillies song as a promo, and the fans were behind it.
yeah,
That he was so over that nothing that man could say. Was it 20, 30 years later and they're still chanting what?
yeah. What?
That's, I think,
What?
I'm not going to sit here and say like Dom's going to be the next Austin, but I think Dom is going to have a great future ahead of him.
Yeah, I agree. If he keeps this up and keeps improving, he actually, listens to his deadbeat father that's been in the business for 30 years, he'll be all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Match 4, Jimmy and Jay.
I was Team Yi.
Me too.
The match was good. It just it kind of got to a super kick fest. I like Jay. Jimmy is hilarious as well. I feel like that match needed something on the line. Like Jay wins, Jimmy leaves the bloodline. Jimmy wins, Jay either returns to the bloodline or an I quit match. The match was good. It was entertaining. It just I felt like it just needed a little something on the line.
Yeah, I agree. Like it could, maybe I'm just expecting, was going in expecting so much because of Jimmy and Jay, but I expected a little bit more out of what the match could have been, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. Like, a lot more high flying, a lot more intensity, maybe a little bit of blood or something, just because, they're brothers. And it's like, I didn't feel the passion of brother versus brother, you know, like, how, like we saw with going, dating ourselves, Owen Brett,
Yes.
you felt the tension there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or even I've watched this match on YouTube, or even the Cody and Dustin match over in AEW. You felt that. You felt that. Like it needed it. Like I said, I was entertained. I liked it, but it's just I felt like it needed, like you said, it needed something to kind of give that little umph of it being a brother versus brother. Uso versus Uso, Yeet versus no Yeet. Like it needed something.
And it's like both those guys are so talented.
Oh yeah.
But it's like, not to hold it against them, but it's like kind of missing. It's like white people not seasoning their food.
Right.
Needed a little extra dash of something,
Yeah.
and
It needed something more than just salt.
yeah,
Like salt's a great starting point, but throw some garlic powder, some onion powder in there. A little that little something.
yeah.
But right there with you, like
But
and
with
I
that said, it was still a very, very good match.
little
You
like
know,
coming out to Lil Wayne coming out, introducing Jay Uso in. Oh, was not expecting.
that every little appearance, whether it was Little Wayne, um, Kelsey, and even Snoop Dogg, I loved
Yeah.
all of it.
Yes. But overall, fairly entertained, but just need extra something.
One of those matches that kind of got lost in the sauce of everything else.
Yeah. There's a few people I watch on TikTok, and one of the guys kind of said, getting to night two, but Jimmy and Jay's brawl on the ramp was almost more had more life in it than their actual match did.
Yeah, and I don't know if they were saving some of it for the spillover on that, but
That's kind of what I was because my buddy that we watched the WrestleMania with, and we were kind of thinking along the lines of that because Solo didn't get involved at all. It's like, okay, are they saving some of this for tomorrow night during if The Rock and Roman wins, are they trying to save some of this for tomorrow night? So in that aspect, I kind of understand why they were maybe a little more reserved night one during that match.
yeah, makes sense. You don't want to overexpose, overkill them, so to
Yeah,
speak. Next match: Jade, Bianca, and Naomi versus Damage Control.
it was a good match. My only my only issue with that match is Jade is a star. She has the aura, she has the look, she has the presence. Jade is a star. I I don't want there to go. I don't want them to Goldberg her,
Yeah,
and that's the vibe I got. Was she was on the ringside until the last couple minutes of the match came in and just cleaned house, which it works. It works for her build and kind of her way her character is portrayed. But I don't want them to Goldberg her. I don't want them to give her 3-minute squash matches. Her just come in and which her pop up power bomb is beautiful, arguably one of the best in the business. I just don't want them. I just don't want her to be a female Goldberg.
and how much of it is like she's a diamond, but they need to still polish her up a little bit more, so that they don't want to show her. You give her too much that she's not ready for. You know what I mean? And they want to make sure that she's 100% good to go. And then, the 3 minute match will turn to a 7 minute match, 10 minute match. Then next thing you know, she's going a half hour.
I mean, like Asuka, Kyrie, Dakota Kai, they all three of those looked great. All three of those ladies looked great. They performed well. Dakota's great. Bianca, Bianca comes in and does what Bianca does. My only issue with Bianca is her hair. I'm sorry. The fact that she uses it as a whip, I get it. I get part of her character, part of everything. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of her hair. I'm not taking anything away from her talent as a performer. She is a great wrestler. I'm just not a fan. I'm not a fan of the hair. And Naomi Uso. I mean, she's Naomi. I mean, in my book, she's a Us. So She's good. It was, like I said, it was an entertaining match. My only gripes of it was, and I'm completely agreeing with what you all everything you said about Jade, is that hopefully it's just them working her up. That's probably my biggest complaint about that match was how they handled Jade.
Yeah, Jade, I think they're slowly working her in. Like I said, Naomi, when I first saw her before she was let go and then she came back, I was like, yeah, the whole party, EDM kind of thing. I was like, not my cup of tea.
Right.
But I don't know. Maybe it was because they brought her back, and then in the Rumble, and then all of a sudden it goes out and her music and freaking the lights start hitting. I'm like, all right. And then she, starts the storyline with Bianca and Jade. I'm like, they're doing something here,
Yeah.
and I'm behind it. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And that's the thing. Maybe they didn't have anything for her at the time, but now, you know, and seeing that match that everybody did so amazing.
Oh
And
yeah.
with Asuka and friggin' with both Kabuki Warriors, they always put on a great show.
Oh, absolutely.
And Dakota Kai coming out like she just got off the pole 5 minutes ago.
Right.
I'm like, I don't get how anybody said that she's not attractive.
Yeah.
But she was like the smallest one in that ring.
And that's saying something when Kyrie's in the ring too.
Yeah, she looked, especially when Jade had her up like that. I'm like, she's gonna like be broken.
He's gonna
I'm like,
put her through.
what was that?
Oh, I said there she's. I said that Jade was gonna put her straight through that ring.
Yeah, like it was like at any point Dakota could have been broken in half.
Yeah. And props on her for taking some of that because she was selling great. And like especially just coming back off of an injury as long as she has been, and her going straight to working with Jade and Bianca, that's impressive.
Yeah,
It in regards to back to Jade, her being paired with Naomi and Bianca is going to help her. That's not going to hurt any manner whatsoever.
yeah.
So,
You I mean, just pairing her with Bianca is gonna do her worlds of good. As long as she listens and
mhm.
follows her lead, it'll be.
I think the biggest like deal with her, not trying to bash AEW, but I think they're just trying to wash the AEW off of her and get her to where she needs to be.
Yeah, kind of wash the stink off a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Then I
All
said,
right,
over entertaining.
all right. We talked about the Sammy. All right, main event time. Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth. Night one.
That match was honestly honestly that that was a good night one main event. I feel like I feel like a part of maybe why some that night one kind of felt not necessarily meh, but was that's the match that everyone was waiting for was The Rock, Roman, Cody, Seth. And that match, in my opinion, it was better than what I had expectations for. I thought this was going to be one of those. I thought Roman was going to do all the heavy lifting. I thought that just seeing how The Rock has been from whenever he came back, how many months ago was it? Whenever he is in there with Austin Theory to now, just seeing how some of like you could tell he was gassed and winded. And it's like, great. Is he able to be perform, a match against Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins? And seeing how The Rock performed, almost like he never missed a step.
Yeah, I mean, if you could say anything about The Rock, he's a professional, and I'm sure he's like a perfectionist.
Yeah.
So I'm sure looking back, he's like, "Yeah, man, I looked freaking gassed. I know I was out for a while. He was in great shape regardless, but I always hear there's a difference between being in shape and being in ring shape.
Mhm.
So I'm sure as soon as he saw that, he was like, okay, I need to fix this. And he got right back on the bus and friggin' right back on the horse and friggin' worked his ass off, knowing that this was the payoff, the end
Yeah.
game. He was like, I can't look like this again.
See, but like, honestly, that whole match was good. Seth being I don't know how much of this, I don't know how much of it is work, like storyline, but Seth taking some of the damage he did and knowing that he has a match the next night, hats off to him. Like, also, one of my favorite spots in that match was right at towards the beginning, whenever he had that little spot with Seth and Rock, and like Seth was like going around him and like kind of pushed the Rock towards the ropes or whatever. And Seth's back there just with a big old just grin on his face. And it's just like, you could probably, like, I just got that feeling Seth, probably like 15-year-old Seth, was like, oh my God, I'm wrestling the Rock.
Yeah. And the same reaction any of us would have.
Yeah. Like, you could tell Seth was like at that moment, like Seth's like, I'm wrestling the Rock. Like, 15-year-old him is just so excited. And that, like I said, that match, like, I enjoyed that match. The Rock exceeded my expectations. And it was typical Roman match. Roman goes out there, does what Roman does. Same thing with Cody. Cody goes out there and does what Cody does. But I feel like kind of Cody and Roman were a little reserved also, because let's be real, we all know that the next night was going to be a solid 30-minute match.
Yeah.
So I feel those two were a little reserved, but overall, I was happy. I was entertained, and 15-year-old Philip was ecstatic seeing The Rock in the ring again. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless of how you feel about The Rock, whether you feel that he's, egotistical and self-centered, or you're a Rock fan, The Rock is back in the ring. It was exciting. Like,
Just hearing his music hit at WrestleMania for the first time in how long was like,
yes,
you know,
you're right back to being 15 years old again. Sitting on the couch, watching. It's like, oh, I love wrestling.
yeah.
But yeah, like I said, overall, the Rock was my biggest mind blown out of that. Just how well he performed, and not only that, the Rock going through the announce table. I did not see that coming.
Yeah. As good of a shape as he is in and always was in and probably will always be in for the rest of his life. He's still what, 50s, almost 60 years old?
Yeah, still an old man,
Like
and he's still
you
been
kind of hold your it's the moment where you start holding your breath. Is he going to get up?
yeah.
You know,
And he hasn't had an actual, was it the last actual match he's had was against John Cena?
yeah.
So like 7-8 years ago.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
I was impressed with him going through the announce table. I did not see that. I did not see that happening. It's like, holy crap, good on him for being able to take that kind of bump still. And like you said, like, he's not, he's an old man. And it's just like, good on him.
And you know, talking about holding your breath, when Roman speared Seth through the friggin' barrier is when I was like, ooh. Like, even if you said, even if his injury was a bit of a work, like, damn. Like, I wouldn't get up after that.
No.
I'm gonna stay here. I'm dead now.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Mm.
But where I think The Rock shined the most in that match was his smack talking.
Yes. I mean,
Especially when he was smack talking to Cody's mom.
oh, that, and I loved when he looked at the ref. He's like, "If you keep counting, you're fired."
Yeah. And the ref said to what he said to Cody is like, I'm sorry, I don't know what to do right now. I got a wife and kid at home.
Yeah. I mean, the Rock smack talk is, I mean, once again, it's the Rock. I mean, if there's only one thing he can do well, it is talk trash.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of us used to quote "It doesn't matter" or what or other stuff The Rock would say, call people jabronis and "it doesn't matter," like, or know your role. How many of us used to quote The Rock, run around in school doing that?
We're gonna take this pen, turn some of it sideways, shine it up real nice.
Yes.
But it that match was definitely where of course it was gonna be the main event. Nobody was shocked by that.
Yeah.
But it was the perfect lead into night two.
It was. Absolutely.
And it definitely had you wanting like, okay, I have to see the next match.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
after we that match, I just looked at my buddy and we're like, look, oh, is it Sunday yet?
Yeah.
Like, we're sitting there like getting hyped. It's like, come on, okay, hurry up. Like, yes.
So going into night two,
Yes.
match one, Drew versus Seth.
God, starting the match off with the Claymore.
Yeah, I was like right out of the gate. The
It's like, oh,
bell's not even done ringing yet.
that's exact. Once he did that, I was like, oh, this is how we're starting off. That match was I mean, besides being a finisher spam and kind of like back to my point of not knowing how much of Seth was a work or how actually injured he was. Seth, I mean, it was a Seth Rollins match. He is, I mean, every match I've seen of his, he everything out in the ring. So, which being somewhat of a Seth Rollins fan, his intro was sometimes he makes it hard to be a Seth Rollins fan.
I was gonna ask you about what you thought of the entrances. Because both I thought were friggin' WrestleMania entrances, if nothing else.
Yes. Night one's entrance, typical Seth. Night two is just like, I looked at my buddy, I'm like, God, it's hard to be a Seth fan sometimes. And let's just like, I would understand, like, I guess that's like a cultural deal, something like in Philly, but to me, that seemed kind of more of like a New Orleans Mardi Gras kind of theme. And it's just, I didn't really, I don't know. To me, it was a Seth Rollins entrance.
Yeah. The group, I mean, they're I guess in Philly they're like the Shriners,
Yeah.
I guess. And it's weird for me to say, even growing up right across the Schuylkill in Jersey, I never heard of it before. So I was like, what the hell's this? Um, but it's like right on. It's Seth Rollins,
Yeah.
at this point, and that's one thing that Katie, my wife, she loves. That made her a Seth Rollins fan.
Right.
You're saying like, okay, what's he wearing tonight? what kind of ridiculous outfit is he going to come out in? And night one, he came out looking like a Power Rangers villain.
Right.
Night two, he came out like he was in a flock of seagulls. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like he could have came out like if he didn't come out like that, I'd be surprised. You know, like
Yeah.
but
We need to come back again though.
need who?
The Seth Rollins big boots.
Oh, the UGG boots.
Yes.
And
But
even
yeah.
Drew's entrance, as soon as those bagpipes hit, I'm like, it's gonna be a good one.
Oh yeah. So we're watching it, and as soon as those bagpipes hit, my buddy's like, for a split second, he's like, he
Piper?
started, and he's like, oh wait, he never mind, he's passed away. He for a split second he thought it was Roddy Piper. Like even knowing that he's been passed, it's like you hear those bagpipes and you automatically think Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
But that match was it was brutal. It was Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre. You could feel the emotion. You could feel Drew's like Drew was not out there messing around. He was out there to put Seth down for 1, 2, 3 to get the belt. And seeing Seth, emotional after losing the title, it's just like, good for Drew. Like you could tell that Seth was, just have that much emotion. And the match itself was a good match. Even though it was a finisher spam, they were both out there putting everything into the ring.
Yeah. And even if it was, basically just a finisher spam, like you said, it was over the last 6 months to a year, they were slowly building to it, and the emotion was there between both of them. So just right off the bat, them going like trying to unalive each other, right on par, totally, totally believable in that scenario. Just like when we're going to try and put this guy down,
Yeah.
and I was, if it was like something that just started 3 weeks ago and they were doing the finisher spam, I'd be like, okay, but it was just built so much into it. And then having CM Punk at the announce table was just that added extra layer of
Yes.
And then once Judgment Day's music hit, I was like, not surprised, but I was like,
Right.
could have given him at least 24 hours,
Yeah, because so me and my buddy, we were like, we had our little predictions, week, and mine was, I told him like Damien's either going to cash in right after the match, or it's going to be Monday night. It's going to be on Raw. It's within 24 hours. Damien is cashing in, and whenever Drew went over to see it to the announce table and started talking trash to CM Punk, I'm like, yep, it's happening tonight. He was doing too much. He was out there too long.
they were dragging it on,
rubbing it in CM Punk's face, and it's just like, yep, he's gonna get cash. Damien's gonna come out, and as soon as I saw the purple light, I'm like, yep. And it's gonna make his story even better because it's going to add more fuel to that CM Punk and Drew feud. And on top of that, I was just like, God, I'm not ready for Monday night now because Drew's going to come out yapping.
and they had laid down the groundworks for Drew Judgment Day months ago, where everybody thought that Drew McIntyre was going to join Judgment Day.
Yeah, back what was it in a Survivor Series?
Yeah, War Games.
Yeah, back then, and not only that, it's like it's almost poetic and fitting because what was it whenever Drew challenged Seth and Damian came out there to cash in, and Drew stopped him. But that match was, I feel it was placed well. It was a well paced and placed match. Like opening night one. I mean night two, coming off night one. It was. I think that was where it was a good opening match. It was.
Yeah, yeah, because everybody was already up here. You wanted to keep them up here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And on top of Stephanie coming out, like I didn't see that.
No, I thought the way she left last time we saw her, and Vince came back, I thought she was done.
So did I. Well, it was good seeing her at the Hall of Fame, and I figured, her being at the Hall of Fame, okay, she's there with Triple H. I mean, I'm sorry, he's not Paul Levesque. He's Hunter, Triple H. He's not Paul Levesque. I'm sorry, but seeing her there with Triple H, then her opening night two, it's like good. I'm glad she's back. Which I don't know how much back she is, but it's good seeing her in a ring and just seeing her.
And somebody pointed out, and I didn't catch it at the time. I didn't even think about it. They just said Stephanie. They didn't say McMahon.
No, they didn't. They did.
And they just said, "Here comes Stephanie." So I don't know if it's like we're kind of beyond that. People know who she is, versus
Yeah.
The name that shall not be named. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I almost wonder if that's, which obviously, I mean, any wrestling fan knows, that Stephanie was not a part of that.
Yeah.
So this was obviously, I mean, they know how wrestling fans are going to react to her, but you still got the normies, the non-wrestling nerds who are going to who may tune into or just see that, oh crap, a McMahon is back in WWE, to kind of get a gauge and kind of test the waters to see how the general public's going to react to a member of the McMahon family being back on TV.
And the hard part is, she's married to Triple H. She's married to one of the bosses, and she was there for 40 years. So it's kind of hard for her not to be there. Gonna be there regardless.
Absolutely. Ooh, so what was match 2 was
The Philly
was that
Street
the
Fight.
the street
Pride
fight?
versus
That's
Final
right.
Testament.
Snoop Dogg was the worst and best part of that match.
Yeah, I was watching purely to hear what Snoop Dogg was saying.
Yes. There was times that some of the stuff Snoop Dogg was saying, you're just like, why are you out here? Then there's other times that some of the stuff he would say has me cracking up laughing.
The two is, somebody better call the police. And you just ruined Grandma's best table.
Yes. Yeah. And speaking of table,
Bubba. And then when Karrion Kross got in his face, he put on the glasses.
Oh, as soon as I saw those glasses come out, it's like, yes, yes, yes. And then, just seeing them do all the spots. Once again, 15-year-old Philip was beside himself.
Get the tables.
Oh yeah, me and my buddy, we sit there, did the 1, 2, 3, get the tables, and the was up.
Yeah. As soon as they picked up his legs and he was climbing up there, I was like, wow.
Yes. And can we take a moment to talk about Bobby Lashley? Like, what is that? What what is that man on to look? He hasn't changed yet. He looks the same as he did 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, he I don't know if it's just good eating and constant working out, or if he's like sacrificing children. I don't know. And for the record, I don't condone sacrificing children because somebody will see this, even if it's two people, and will take it out of context. Um, but yeah, man doesn't age. Black
No,
doesn't crack. You know.
no, like that man, like I remember what was it? What WrestleMania was it where it was where he fought against God, it was Vince and regardless how you feel about him, Vince versus Trump for at WrestleMania. Was it Umaga? It was Umaga and Bobby Lashley, if I remember right.
Yeah, I think so.
Like he looks the same as he did back then.
Yeah,
Like that man does not age, and like whatever you said, like whether it's making sacrifices, just great genes, or just working out and eating right, good for that man because he looks exactly the same.
and he was when he first came out, he was in his mid-20s then.
And
Now
he's
it's like
what,
20 years later.
almost in his 40s or 50s?
Yeah, he's mid to late 40s at the earliest. You
Yeah,
know, like
and
like
that whatever he's got going, good for him. I mean, but yeah, overall, like I said, that match, like Snoop Dogg, like was like there's times some of the stuff he was saying, it's like, why are you out here? And there's other times it's like I'm sitting there cracking up, laughing my ass off because just some of the stuff he's saying so out of pocket. It's just like, okay,
it's like
okay,
this is why you're here.
yeah. And like but Bubba Ray, seeing all the spot, seeing all the classic spots, you're just like, yes, yes, I'm here for it. Even if it's a cheap pop and it's just there for pure nostalgia, I'm here for it.
It just speaking of pop, it just popped into my head. Um, Talking about Bobby Lashley not aging. Friggin' uh, gosh, just lost the name. Paul Ellering. He's
Oh yeah.
another one. He hasn't aged a day since the 80s. Like maybe just losing his hair even more, but he looks take take Paul Ellering from leading LOD to
Right.
now, he looks exactly the same.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's the one feeding Bobby Lashley the virgin children,
It
but the
has.
man doesn't age.
Yeah. Another one that looks good for his age is Billy Gunn.
Yeah, he's 60 and
Yeah. He's in his late 50s, early 60s, and that man, granted, he's in the gym all the time, but still, that he's another one that looks great for their age.
yeah, that's the benefits of being an ass man.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think now the next match would be the LA Knight AJ Styles. If I
Yeah,
remember.
match 3 was LA Knight AJ Styles.
Yes. Honestly, match, no problems with it.
It was a solid match.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good match, and honestly, LA Knight needed that win.
Yeah, he did. He not just making me feel good. Always got oh lost you. There we go. But not even about him getting his WrestleMania moment, but like he needed.
Oh, sorry, phone call came in. My bad.
It's all good.
Good. Sorry, but yeah, like that match was he needed that. He needed that win. And anybody who says LA Knights lost momentum or is not as over as he was, watch that match and tell me otherwise.
Yeah, he is. I will definitely say that he needed that. He needed to win more than AJ needed to win.
Yes.
Just to keep the momentum going.
Yes.
Um, but like anytime he comes out, it's like, yeah, this, yeah, that. Let me talk to you. People are right there with him. And I'm guilty of it as also. Whenever I hear his music, I'm in the next room. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. Got my little 2.5-year-old nephew going, yeah.
Or he's sitting there, throwing punches and yeah. He needed that win. It's helping him. And he's like, it's one of those that the fact that what was it after I think it was the Rumble, was it Royal Rumble whenever it was Roman, Randy, AJ, and LA Knight. After that match, I think originally they said they had no plans for LA Knight after that. Then all of a sudden now he's in a WrestleMania match. I mean, that win was good for him.
Yeah. They again, imagining how much Triple H is the wrestler and the performer he is. He was probably like, we came to the end of what we had planned. He's like, we can't let this die.
No,
We have something here.
that was one of those the fans got what they wanted. The fans dictated his push, and because that was one of those. I mean, obviously, he was he went in a year from coming out and getting booed to now he's in a WrestleMania match. Everyone going, yeah. I mean, how like that was one of those you can't deny him.
Yeah.
And they would be stupid if they did.
Yeah, it was the hashtag we want Cody before the hashtag we want Cody.
Yes.
And it wasn't that long ago that he was Max Dupree, one of the twins, and not going anywhere. And next thing you can make the joke that he's Stone Cold from Wish.com, but you can't deny him.
I mean, everyone sits. Oh, he's a Stone Cold and a Rock from Dollar Tree. It's like, yeah, you could make that argument, but at the same time, everybody in the history of professional wrestling to emulate from, those are probably two of the best people to do so.
Yeah, and it's not a new thing. Like Hogan imitated Billy Graham. Billy Graham imitated Gorgeous George. Uh, Stone Cold a little bit. Stone Cold and Sandman were kind of running neck and neck of being the same person.
Right.
Demolition was inspired by the Road Warriors. It's not a first time thing that somebody put a little bit of this, a little bit of that into their pot, stirred it up, and yeah, you got a winner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times throughout the day unintentionally do you just find like someone ask you something, you're just like unintentionally, like it's LA Knight, he's another one of those that give him another couple years, he's gonna have a champ, he's gonna have some gold around him.
Yeah. And right now it's like, how do you take the belt off anybody else or the world title off anybody else?
Yeah.
But US title, Intercontinental title, something to keep his momentum going.
Yeah, I think what would have worked for him would have been the US title. that would have been a good title for him to take because, I mean, he already has a little bit of a history with Logan Paul. So,
But speaking of U.S. title, match 4. Logan Paul, KO, and Randy Orton.
on that note, hold for a second because I got to get a charger because my phone's about to die. But hold that thought for a second, and I will get right back.
All righty. Take your time.
Alrighty.
All right, yeah. U.S. title.
That match was, love him or hate him, Logan Paul is an absolute star. He was born for this business. He was born for that business, and he's great for that business. He is made for it. Like Randy, I I kind of felt like Randy was almost just there because Randy doesn't need the U.S. title.
No.
If anything, the U.S. title almost needs Randy, which that's a good position to be in as a superstar. Is you don't need the title; that title needs you. And Kevin, honestly, I love Kevin Owens trash talking.
He's one of my spirit animals.
Yes. Like Kevin he's a trash talker, and I'm here for it. And apparently, Kevin Owens drives too fast going down a ramp. But
yeah, Randy was holding on for dear life.
well, yeah, wouldn't you if you just got back from a back surgery and back injury, and okay, like I'm not trying to get taken back out again.
Which, side note, the Kevin Owens Randy Orton bromance, I'm all for it.
Yes. Like, see that right? That's kind of what I was kind of referring to with Sammy. Like, Kevin just he feeds so he's one of those people he's great on his own, but he just needs someone to bounce off of, to kind of feed off of. And that's where I feel like Sammy was a little more interesting, kind of a little bit more of a yin to yang with Kevin, and just those two together, to me, was great. But yeah, Kevin Randy's bromance is, it's I'm here for it. And that little moment where they both went to pin Logan, and they're like, oh, they kind of come to that realization that, oh, yeah, one of us have to. And not only that, the fact that Kevin Owens trusted Randy Orton and almost got RKO'd.
Yeah, out of nowhere.
Yeah.
My big issue is not with Logan Paul being there, as much as it's almost like he didn't put the time. He's a great athlete. We've seen that at the Rumble, Elimination Chamber. He's talented.
Yes.
He has it. But it's like he didn't put the time in.
Right.
You know what I mean? Miz, to this day, I still make jokes that, if it wasn't for the real world, you wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But 20 years later, you can look back and be like, Miz paid his dues.
Yes.
You know, he worked his ass off, and he deserves all the positives he gets.
Yes.
I'm like, as a wrestling fan for 35, 40 years, and I'm only 40, like, bro, you, you don't belong here, not yet.
Yeah.
You know, I remember the U.S. title going back to when I was 10 and Sting and Luger holding it. Now we have Logan Paul.
Yeah.
Really? You know, so I'm like, again, going back to what I said about Dom and uh, 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 A Town Down Under. He's obviously doing the right thing. Can't wait to see him lose.
Yes.
But you know, for me, it's that weird. Does it really got to be him?
I mean, I know it. I trust me. I get it because like Logan Paul is like he's another one of those good bad. He gets people turning the TV on because, I mean, whenever he fought Mayweather, you know how many people bought that pay per view just to watch him get beat? Like
Yeah,
they didn't care about the fight; they just wanted to see Logan Paul get his face smashed in. And like I'm kind of right there with you in a way also on Logan Paul. It's like he didn't earn it, but at the same time, it's like seeing how he performs and how he is in the ring. It's like, God, it's just like, at least he's one of the few like celebrities that's made an appearance that's not just like, oh, throw it, like hit someone with the steel chair just real quick and out of the ring. Like he's actually like, I have a little more respect that he's not just like showing up at pay per views now, that he's actually somewhat not full time, but he's actually having matches and making appearances on Raw, SmackDown, not just showing up at WrestleMania or showing up at Survivor Series or showing up at the Rumble. He's actually putting in some normal matches.
yeah. Like I said, he's putting in the work. You know, he's talented, and I still may be a little bitter, or still have a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth since David Arquette.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like having celebrities um, come in and win any title, especially if they didn't work up to it. It's
Yeah.
kind of, yeah, it's still kind of iffy to me, you know.
Yeah.
But I could just be a bitter old wrestling fan, so I might not.
No, I completely understand. Like I mean, like the mid, like you said, the mid, he had to pay his dues and not and get changed in the bathroom and not in the locker room because of supposedly eating some chicken over somebody's bag. But I mean, like I said, it was. I was genuinely surprised that Logan Paul won that match. I did not see that. I did not. I figured it was going to be Randy or Kevin winning that. To be honest, what I thought was going to happen. I thought Kevin was going to win the title, and Sammy was going to come out, and they were going to kind of have their Eddie Guerrero and Lord Voldemort moment.
Chris
He
Benoit.
yes, they're going to have their little Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero moment after winning. I honestly that's what I thought was going to happen. I was
Yeah,
genuinely surprised that Logan won that match.
yeah. I mean, even without Sammy winning the night before, if you asked me to put $5 on who was going to win, I would have said KO. I would have expected Kevin to win anyway. Um, but yeah, once Sammy won night one, I thought it was gonna. Yeah, maybe that's what everybody expected, so they didn't go with it. But and you froze, and you're back. I think your mic's off, bud. Still can't hear you, bro. Technical difficulties. Okay. Sorry, everybody. Had a little bit of technical difficulties here.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you, bud.
All right, good. Sorry about that.
You're good. It happens.
Yeah. Like I said, the problems of doing this on a phone instead of a computer.
Yeah. I again, like I said before, I bet Rogan doesn't have these issues.
Probably not. I mean, then again, I don't think we have that Spotify money, so
No, can't afford a Jamie.
yeah. But yeah, back on the Logan deal. That I was like that. I was genuinely surprised that Logan retained on that match. Like, because I looked at my buddy and told him, it's like, yeah, it would have been equivalent to the finger poke of doom. But I am genuinely surprised, Kev having that kind of hatred with it being a triple threat match. It's like I'm surprised that Kevin didn't look at Randy. It's like, do you want to take the pin or do you want me to take the pin?
Yeah, and then Randy would be like, "Go for it,"
It would have cheapened it, been equivalent to the finger poke of doom or whenever Jeff Jarrett just laid there and took the pin to Hulk Hogan, but with Kevin Owens' hatred toward him, I'm surprised that he just didn't want to, like, you know what? Okay, well, I'll smart you. Randy just lays down 1, 2, 3. Kevin has the title.
yeah. I mean, it was. The only thing keeping me from being completely angry about it is knowing that somebody's gonna take it from them.
Yeah,
And what the next pay-per-view is Backlash.
right.
So will it be an LA night?
I,
Will
I think that,
KO friggin' go back into it?
yeah. So
You know,
speak.
is he only holding it because of the Prime sponsorship?
I really hope it's not that. That it's not some kind of contractual, like, hey, Prime sponsors, let me hold on to the U.S. Championship for 6 months or what have you. And speaking of the Prime sponsorship, how do you feel about the Prime bottle in the middle of the ring?
It doesn't bother me. Doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would. If you asked me like right before, I'd be like, I don't do it. But I didn't even notice the ads until somebody pointed them out to me. You know what I mean? Because once
Yeah.
the match got going, it's like they got lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
Which the only the only one that is like, you could pick a better spot was the Wingstop ad in the middle of the match with the 3 black women.
or the gin and juice with the street fight, or the lemonade fresca lemonade during the Rey Mysterio and Dom and Andrade.
Yeah, it's like you could have put them in any other spot, nobody would have noticed.
Yeah. It's like, geez, like, come on, guys.
Who cleared this?
Are we sure Vince isn't gone? Because that seems like something Vince would do. Like, overall, the Prime bot, like, I'm kind of like you. It doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would. But like once you kind of like honestly, so like during the Cody Roman match, I didn't. The prime bottle in the ring was the last thing I was concerned about. So like I feel like depending on the match, it's not noticeable.
Yeah, it's like you're like, oh, look, Wingstop ad, and then you move on. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, there's the prime bottle again, and then it's like it's not even there. They did it in such a way that it's like not the centerpiece of what's in there. You know,
That it's just the black outline and the black lettering. Now, if it would have been the colored one that they had, what was it?
the
Whenever
red,
they
white, and blue one,
the what one?
the red, white, and blue bottle.
Yeah, if it would have been that one, then I can see it being more distracting. But with it being kind of, I guess, desaturated and kind of, with the mat being gray and the bottle and all that being black, it almost blends in.
Yeah,
So that it kind of, it's like, I guess it does. I kind of like. I guess it doesn't bother me as much as I thought it would, but at least it's not to the level of UFC having Jimmy John's, Ghost, and all like 10
yeah,
different sponsors on the mat.
yeah, and it's like even if they did have like 10 sponsors, and then they kind of put them around the edge of the ring. At least you could say it's like kind of out of the way almost.
Yeah,
There's somebody standing on it, you don't notice it. But if nobody's in the ring, you're like, oh, Wingstop, Adam and Eve, Jimmy John's, it's like, okay, but it, I said the same thing about baseball jerseys when they started putting sponsorships on those. As long as it doesn't take up like the entire frigging thing, I think we're all right, because the focus is the matches. So
yeah.
match 5, Bailey and Io Sky.
Good for Bailey. She deserves it. My biggest issue with that match had nothing to do with Bailey, had nothing to do with Io. Bailey won the Royal Rumble. Bianca did not win the Royal Rumble. Rhea did not win the Royal Rumble. Bailey won the Royal Rumble. And it seemed like they weren't really advertising her or like her being on the like any of the posters, any of the promotional material. It was Roman and Cody, obviously, Rhea, obviously, Becky, obviously. Then Bianca was on some of the promotional material or at some of the WrestleMania like stuff, and it's just like, but Bailey won the Royal Rumble. It's like, to me, they didn't really push Bailey during this whole WrestleMania season like they did some other stars. So I feel kind of, in a way, it almost did a disservice towards Bailey on that. And
Yeah.
I was kind of like not necessarily upset, but just kind of like, if I was Bailey, I'd be kind of like, look, I won the Royal Rumble here. Why am I not? Why is my picture not up there?
Yeah, and it's like obviously you're going to push Cody and Roman. That's the big one. And Rhea, it's like at this point, what grown man or woman, doesn't want to see more of Rhea.
Right.
But Bailey should be right up there with them.
Yeah. Bailey's put her work in. She is, like, she's done well for herself, and the fact that they weren't really pushing or advertising Bailey during this is kind of like, if I was her, I'd be pissed off, and like, whenever I think like CM Punk even kind of said the same thing. If I was like that about how she's not getting really promoted much through all this, but
And it's like, how much does she really need it?
right?
You know what I mean? but still, Cody and Roman don't need it either. But they're the main focus of the
Yeah,
posters.
and just
Um,
sheer fact that she won the women's Royal Rumble. I mean, like, yeah, I mean Bailey's been around for a while, and Bailey is one of the four horsewomen. So like, she's she's done very well for herself, but it's just the fact that to me it's like they just kind of didn't really acknowledge the fact that she won the women's Royal Rumble. But the match itself though, honestly, it kind of went the way I expected. I expected some actually interference from Damage Control, which I was genuinely surprised that there wasn't. And I like Io, but like I think this title reign can be better for Bailey because I mean, besides a handful of matches, was there any really memorable matches with Io as champion?
yeah, it was more Damage Control matches
Yeah,
than EOS matches, and you know, Io definitely deserves it. It won't take anything away from her.
no,
But it's like Bailey will definitely be, especially babyface Bailey,
mm-hmm.
and she'll definitely take it to a whole nother level. You know what I
Absolutely,
mean? And Katie pointed it out the other night. In general, not even just Damage Control, there was very little interference with anything,
yeah,
which was smart
absolutely,
considering uh, Cody versus Roman.
mm-hmm.
They saved it all for them,
Yeah,
which I'm sure you're not surprised by the outcome of that one.
no, no,
He had to finish the story.
absolutely,
And
and that match. So I guess we're going to talk about that match now.
yeah, let's talk about the giant white elephant in the room.
That match was an overbooked mess at the end, and I was absolutely here for it. Like it was. Oh. So back like it went longer without interference than what I was expecting. I was expecting as soon as that bell rang, it was going to be a 4-on-1. That's kind of my expectations towards it. But the fact that it went as long as it did without interference and it was a Cody and Roman match and like it was it that match delivered. It was firing on all cylinders. Everything you would want out of a wrestle. That was the epitome of a WrestleMania main event, in my opinion.
Yeah, agreed.
Like that's like you want. That's how you want the main event of WrestleMania to end. It. That's one of those like I. It's still as much as I wanted Cody to finish the story. I knew it was going to happen. You almost felt bad for Roman because it's just like you're like, okay, what do we do now? Like, it's like who am I supposed to acknowledge? What does this mean for Roman?
I mean,
Like, is Roman going to go away from?
I definitely see Roman taking a break for a little bit. You know, um, maybe have a again token here, a little backlash with The Rock,
Yeah,
but for the most part, he's gonna like, all right, give him a break, let him get a breather, and 6 months, a year from now, he comes back. We kind of work him back in if he comes back. Um, but I don't think the Bloodline story is necessarily over.
same.
But at the bloodline story that we had for the last 3 years, 4 years, that's over.
Yeah.
You know, it'll just be kind of like the fallout. Who's in charge now?
So
You
is Solo
know,
tribal chief now from what was it, a few months back, wherever Roman basically like, hey, whenever I step down, you're gonna fill my shoes in.
yeah. And, uh, nothing against Solo, but he has the personality of a wet rock.
Yes.
So if they do more with him, we definitely got to see that personality. You know,
Right.
you
That's
can't
where I
just
think Jimmy.
fall all on Jimmy or Jay. You know,
But that match though, God, the false finishes, there's a few times that like I'm on sitting there on the edge of the couch, just like, come on, like hand covering fat mouth. It's like, come on, like you want Cody. It's like there's like two and like it was like 2 7/8. You're like, oh, that was a 3. Or same thing with Roman. You're just like, that hand is so close that it's just like, oh, that was 2 13/16. So that was almost a 3. You're just like, come on, like then you're waiting for the interference. Then when Jimmy came out, it's like, okay, here we go. Jay
yeah.
coming out, Solo coming out, and like I was joking around because I'm just like, do 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 do. Sure, John Cena's music. This is like, wait, what? Then The Rock and John Cena stare down in the ring.
And then the
God,
lights go out.
like honestly, I was waiting to hear the glass shatter.
Yeah, I think everybody was. No, I don't think anybody was expecting Taker.
No, I was expecting to hear that glass shatter and that place just go absolutely insane. But as soon as that gong hit, it's just like, no. Like, me and my friend looked at each other, we're like, no. Hit again, it's like, no. Like, lights went out and he came out and we both lost our minds. It's The Undertaker.
And him just standing there in street clothes, just staring a hole in the back of Rock's head.
Yes. And that choke slam, you're just like, oh, we were going crazy. It's just like, we were going just as crazy as they were. And I'm sure his neighbors were like, what the hell are these two guys? What the hell's going on? But we did not care. We were sitting there, screaming and hollering, and like we were going crazy. Then
I was in the office at work, and once those lights went out, I was like, "Oh shit!" And I knocked the chair over. People were like, "Are you okay? Is Joe having a heart attack in the office? What's going on here?" Like, no, I'm good. It's just Undertaker. He's
yeah,
coming
and
to
like
take me away.
right. Then oh, the fact that Roman finished his story as well with Seth.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting Shield Seth to come out,
No.
and part of me was like I wasn't holding my breath, but like at the same time, I was like, imagine seeing Dean Ambrose come down with him.
Like see, like that's one of those like yeah, but he'd be bleeding on the way down but like Dean, like so like in the heat of the moment, I guess I understand now why so many people was like, "Oh my God, is that Moxley? Is that Ambrose?" But it's just like once you kind of think about it, it's like, "Oh wait, he's still under contract with AEW." And last I knew, he was like still on the band. Like I think he's one of the few that's on the banned list from WWE. And it's just like whenever that music hit, you're just like, "Oh crap!" Who like for that split second, I was like, I even kind of like, "Oh crap!" Did they get Moxley somehow? But whenever Seth came out and didn't really do much, but whenever Roman decided to get payback on Seth versus retaining the title, and it's just like that long term storytelling.
Yeah. And
The
Seth even said to Cody, "I'll be your shield at that during that match." And
yep,
sure enough,
and the whole I'm the one that caused this, and I know how to beat him. And I mean, the Shield. I mean, that is one of those like trauma triggers, like for Roman. That you're just like, he said it in interviews. He's like, I can never forgive you for that. And him knowing that psychological warfare, he knew that Roman would choose revenge on him versus hitting Cody with the steel chair.
yeah,
And
when done right, it's poetry.
it is that that match was cinema. It was gold. Then the three crossroads and 1, 2, 3, and I jumped up like yes, like it's kind of screaming as well because like I said earlier, Cody kind of holds a spot in my heart because starting to watch wrestling again after during WrestleMania 39, and Cody just kind of holds that spot in my heart, and just like watching him finish his story, it I didn't think they would do a repeat of last year and having Cody lose again.
Oh yeah,
And
if they did, people would riot.
yes, and because realistically, nobody cares about the 1,316 days. Like,
Yeah,
like
go ahead.
fan.
Yeah, people are like, "Oh, he's number 4 on the list. He's the fourth longest." And they even, I remember Michael Cole even like the last time he said anything, kind of said it like begrudgingly, and then they just stopped talking about it. You know,
Yeah, because
after they
nobody cares.
said he's the longest reigning champion in the WrestleMania era, I'm like, that's not a fucking thing. Like,
No,
no, either are or
no.
you're not.
It the general fans don't care. Like that. I think that was more of a Vince thing, and like I think that was more of a Vince trying to like erase Hulk Hogan, not erase Hulk Hogan, but surpass Hulk Hogan. Because let's be real, like to get him to surpass San Martino, that's can we really handle another 3 Roman wrestling 2 or like 4 times a year?
No, it,
That
it, the I saw. I think I had sent it to you, but they had a breakdown. Bruno held it for 7 years, 8 months, I believe. He had like 900 title defenses.
right.
Backlund held it for 4 years, whatever, and had like 600 title defenses. Hogan in his 4 years had like almost 500. In Roman's 3.5, 4 years, he had 56.
Yeah, because I say I don't think he even surpassed 100.
And I get back in the 70s and 80s, territories and everything like that. You would travel around, you face the top guy and move on to the next one. But
Yeah,
that still means something. It's like I don't expect him to have 900 title defenses, but at least show up to work. You know what I mean?
yeah, and like in Roman's defense, like I mean, I get which honestly, I'm really glad they talked about it during the press conference on night 1. About, I mean, yeah, he like once you have leukemia, that doesn't go away, and I get with him having leukemia, and COVID was not easy on him because with already having a compromised immune system, that he has to be more careful.
Yeah.
So like, I get that, but it's just like I don't think like some people kind of like realize that it's like, oh crap, he can only do so much. And also during that time, I mean, I feel like he was only. I'm not trying to discredit his reign, but I feel like to an extent that he was only, you know, champion for 3 years because I mean, for a while there, who like who was there that could elevate that title, that could worthy of being the guy, like the face of the company, like during like I didn't really watch during the COVID era, but from some of the stuff I've seen on like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and on Peacock, watching some of that that was brutal. That was rough.
Yeah, I had
Like
watched some, and
so,
it was not easy to see.
no, like that was like secondhand, like that was some secondhand embarrassment and some like secondhand cringe. You're just like, ugh. Like it. So like in a way, I get it, but I like Cody deserved it. Cody, the fact that he is the first Rhodes to hold that title, and I would have loved if WWE and AEW could have worked out a deal, a deal to get Dustin Rhodes to come just to help his brother. I wish they could have made a deal for that.
Yeah, and he didn't even have to come down as Goldust. He could
No,
just came down as Dustin, ran in, hit somebody with a freaking chair, roll out of the ring. Cody pins and wins, and next thing you know, you got big brother, little brother hugging in the ring, crying with their mom or with Cody's mom.
and in Mama Rhodes the title. Like I'm not gonna lie, whenever he did that, I kind of teared up a little bit. Like seeing the emotion on their face, and on top of that, hearing Samantha's voice crack trying to announce Cody winning.
She's
Like
another one.
hearing
She's
her,
a national treasure.
yes. Like, yeah, I know everyone prefer. Obviously, I know Lillian Garcia and what the Fink. I know everyone holds the Fink to like the gold standard. I'm sorry, Samantha Irvin is. You said it. She's a national treasure. She is a great ring announcer, and the way and like I'm like everybody else. The way she says Chelsea Green cannot be beat.
Yeah, like I grew up with Howard Finkel, so
Yeah.
he will always be one. Him and Mean Gene will always be two of the voices in the back of my head announcing everyday things that I am doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Lillian was the voice of that Attitude Era, but Samantha Irvin she is taking her spot on my list of ring announcers. She, with love
Yes.
to Lillian Garcia, she took number two. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's not that bad to look at either. Friggin'
Yeah.
Ricochet is
Like,
Ricochet is
one
a
lucky man.
yes.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Like let's just like and like I was watching one interview with her and I think she said she's like, yeah, I can have access to the script, but I choose not to. She's like, 'cause I want my reactions to be as genuine as everyone else in that arena. I want my reaction to be the same as the people sitting at home watching it, or sitting right there in the arena with me. So she's like, I don't watch. She's like, I don't look at the script. I don't look at the results. She's like, so whenever you see my face, like, holy crap, or the way my voice is when I announce, she's like, that's my real reaction to this. She's like, I'm seeing it just the same as everyone at home is. And it's like, I can respect her for that.
Yeah, if you listen to JR's podcast, he said the same thing. He was like, I don't want to know. He was like, I want to call it as I see it.
Yeah.
And it makes it genuine. You know what I mean? Some people could like, okay, I know what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. But there's a certain amount of passion that comes with finding out as it's happening. You know, and Jim Ross is the constant professional, and Samantha, you could tell she's a genuine sweetheart when she sees how it's going and seeing her cry when Cody won. You could tell that it's real.
Yeah.
You know.
That, and you can tell that she's like, there's times that she's just as much of a fan as everyone else. And like that, and that obviously that helps. And you're just, and like, because I think I sent it to you on like Instagram or TikTok the other day about where she's, death match, and as Drew going over to CM Punk, and you see her like, oh, you're doing too much. You're doing too much. I mean, just go back over to your wife and enjoy it. And seeing her reaction as it's going on, and it's just like, okay, like, yeah, she's just, you can tell that she just genuinely cares, and she's genuinely having a good time.
Yeah. And as a fan, it's nice to see that it's not just, okay, I'm going to sit here in the back and I'm going to be quiet and, you know, or, okay, I got to announce this now. It's not just a job, she's taking it serious. And, people are like, you know, people I've heard talk shit or like, oh, she's doing too much.
Yeah.
What? Like, they're like, oh, every moment can't be a big, loud, boisterous Samantha Irvin moment. I was like, maybe not, but it's good to see that there's not just somebody being monotone.
Yeah.
You know,
And like, I like that she makes Tozawa feel just as important as Roman Reigns.
yeah,
She makes, Piper Niven feel like just as equally important as Rhea Ripley. Like, she does that, and like the way she announces, she changes it up, not just Ricochet or Seth Rollins. The way she announces it is just, she puts like almost like that character's twist into the way she announces them.
yeah. She makes it a little extra spicy.
Yeah, she makes it a little more personal for each person. And obviously, like I already said, I mean, the way she announces Chelsea Green, it's oh, and that's another one of those deals that wrestling fans are just, we're weird because there's little things that we latch onto, and sometimes it's the dumbest of things, and other times it's you know stuff that should be latched onto. Like, obviously, I mean, fans latching on to what is obviously at one point, okay, haha, it was funny, but 20 years later, it's just like, can we not?
Yeah, yeah. I feel the same way of hearing "Holy shit" and "This is awesome,"
Yeah.
and it's like, growing up, hearing it and being so close to Philly and you know ECW, that I'm like that was our thing.
Mm-hmm.
And now there people are like, you'll hear it at an AEW show. You'll hear it at some random house show, which it's great that it made such an impact and such a part of the whole thing now. You know, you go into like Paul Heyman's induction speech, he was like, "We are part of it," and it's good to see that it's stuff like that is still living on. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like not every moment is a holy shit moment.
Yeah.
you know,
And like
and
the Hall of
and
Fame, the fact that they were trying to what chant Roman when trying to induct Paul Heyman, like that was just like, it's like, come on, guys. Like, there's times for that. Like, that was not one of them.
yeah,
It's like that crowd was not it during the Hall of Fame speech whenever they were trying to chant what, or there's some other stuff that you could tell they were trying to yell during Paul Heyman's speech or Roman's speech. It's like, really, guys? It's like, that's one night. Don't be assholes. Don't be
yeah.
wrestling for one night.
And it's one thing to be chanting ECW
Mm-hmm.
as Paul is opening the box and putting the jacket on and the headset. It's one thing to be chanting ECW during that, but the rest of the moments, let Paul have his moment.
Yes,
He deserves it as much, if not more, than anybody else that's in there. He
absolutely,
deserves it,
absolutely.
you know. And, I said this to a few people. I was like, I don't really have an issue with Roman inducting him, considering the storyline leading into WrestleMania. But like, it was good to see RVD and the Dudleys there and
Yes,
Dreamer there. Maybe I'm being selfish, but I would have loved to see them up there
yeah.
inducting him. You know what
I,
I mean?
I was kind of surprised with Roman. I figured it would have been CM Punk, the Dudleys, Dreamer. Dreamer would have been, would have made absolute sense. But like, I was kind of surprised it wasn't CM Punk in a way, also, as close as those two are.
Yeah.
But then,
Brock, you could understand.
yeah, but like then again, I think CM Punk is a very polarizing character. People either love him or hate him. And I think with him just being this freshly back to WWE, and I think it kind of made sense in a way, not having CM Punk there at the you know potentially what way fans chant CM Punk, would they potentially hijack that from Paul Heyman?
Yeah, I agree.
So like Roman made sense, but I'm kind of right there with the Dudleys or Dreamer or RVD or you know like somebody that is not necessarily more of an ECW homegrown, but someone like that. It that would have made a little that would have made sense as well.
Yeah.
But
But
overall, I don't know, my overall opinion of the WrestleMania, though, I would say, I mean, as corny and as cliche, to me is the best. To me is the best WrestleMania they've had. Easily 9 out of 10 WrestleMania.
yeah, it definitely is up there in one of my top 10. It's definitely in the top 10 for me.
Yeah,
Um, I'd have to let it settle and stew a little bit to see if it breaks my top five.
fair.
Um, but as a whole, from bell to bell to bell to bell, it may be one of the best, if not the best, from start to finish.
Yes.
Um, you could make arguments that any match from any other WrestleMania is better than this match, better than that match. You know, like Shawn versus Razor, the latter match is better than Sammy versus Gunther. You
Right.
know, but from start to finish, I don't know if there's any WrestleManias that are as solid as what we just had.
No. From bell to bell, absolutely not. I mean, you always have like kind of like we mentioned earlier, you have some WrestleManias that there's like 2 or 3 matches you're just like, are oh my god matches that 15 years later we're still talking about, but from bell to bell, where matches that are you just that we've spent over 2 hours talking about of just matches that was a good match that I can't think of another WrestleMania that has that much, just quality of matches. And I,
Yeah, yeah,
I think going to 2 nights was probably the move.
yeah. Because especially in with the whole brand split and Raw versus SmackDown, multiple titles. It gives matches room to breathe, storylines room to breathe, and you get to have so much quality talent that 15 years ago would be, 20 years ago would Bailey be where she is
Yeah,
then.
that would have been
No,
a
you know, would we have such a in-depth storyline like the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes?
mm-hmm.
Maybe, but it just there was so much to it.
Yeah, like, and not only that, like, I mean, you could make an argument that people nowadays are shorter attention span, but would you like would 8 what the WrestleMania was what 4 hours, like each night was what 4 hours, 3.5 4 hours.
Yeah, they were.
Like, would you want to sit at the arena for 8 hours, with all those matches in one night? Would you want to sit a work day through WrestleMania? Like, I mean, I think the 2 nights it gives matches and stories time, like you said, breathe and kind of sit there and just stew, and like you get night one that kind of you're like, okay, it's like you can be hyped for it, or it's like, yeah, okay. Then you get night two that just blows your mind. And you're just like, okay, I think the 2 nights was the way to go.
Agreed. It you're always gonna have filler matches. Like as much as I like AJ Styles and LA Knight, that was kind of a filler match,
It was,
but it was still a very good match on in anybody's book, in anybody's card. It was a very solid match.
yeah,
It gave a chance for people to come down and relax and come right back up again. Um, but it was, and again, people will probably be talking about it for years as one of the best, simply because Cody finished the story,
yeah. Like,
you know, and next year, see how they build up to next year's WrestleMania.
I mean,
And,
long as Triple H is still in charge and he keeps going the direction he is, I don't think we have anything to worry about. It.
yeah,
With that being said, I think with the way the last few weeks have been going, I can I can wholeheartedly say I think we are out of the whole, absolutely out of the PG era, and I think once they go to Netflix, how to open it up to more I guess adult language and more adult theme, and not just being keeping that PG rating. I think it would go up to TV 14 or higher.
yeah. It's one of those things. Like when I thought about it, I was like, not that they will, be full Attitude Era, be blood, gore, you know, bra and panties matches again. We're not going to be going back to that. But if somebody drops a fuck or a shit, they're not going to have to worry about getting in trouble for it.
Right.
You know, they could, you know, they don't have to worry about, okay, is Rhea dressing a little too risque tonight?
Yeah.
They're not going to have to worry about that. They could have, they're not going to have to fill all these, check all these blocks and, you know, be in this constraint. They could build out a little more and then come
Right.
back down. Build up and come back down. So it could definitely be a positive, and you know, Triple H is smart enough and that to know the limits to push them,
Hmm.
and you know, to hire people to that know better than he does if he doesn't know. So
Yeah.
you know, it's definitely going to be interesting to see come January when it starts.
Oh, absolutely agree.
So yeah, we've been on this for 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Man, time sure flies when you're talking about some of that stuff.
Yeah, we went half of night one, so
Yeah.
I'll let you go, bud.
All right.
Thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
Um, I'm thirsty. You're thirsty. I'm sure. I got to pee. So,
Yeah.
and my wife's been is bugging me for dinner. So, dinner idea. So,
All right.
all right. I'll let you go, bud. I'll let you know when this is up,
All right.
and on to the next story.
All righty. Well, have a good night, man.
You too, bud. Take it easy.
Later.